9056. Only one person joined from B9. Can you hear me? 9056. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, B9 students. B9, right? Today, who's going to present? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Group 1. Sharath, Madhvi, Akhila, Diksha, Srishti, Rishita, Manish, Makita, Sharan, Yatharth.
Yes, ma'am.
Going to present now.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Who is going to share your screen?
And can I share my screen?
8.
Yes, ma'am.
Akhila,
Yes, ma'am. Host disabled participant screen sharing. Can you enable it?
you are a co-host now.
Can we start?
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are Group 1 from CS11, and our topic is online shopping. So I'm sure everyone shopped online in the pandemic at least once. So what happens in an online shopping? So the sellers sell their products in a website. We as customers go through their products, go through their catalogs, add the products in our cart, place an order. We give in our details, shipping details, address, names, everything. And we can either pay online using credit card, debit card, or cash on delivery. And we also have the option to choose the shipping option, be it regular, fast, or express. So yeah, so this is the basic introduction of online shopping. So where does UML come in? So UML is Unified Modeling Language. It is a general purpose modeling language used for specifying, visualizing, constructing, and documenting the various aspects of a system. So how is it useful? It basically makes complex applications easier to understand. For example, the activity diagram, which is one of the structural UML diagram, can be used instead of flowcharts. So it has features which are more readable and it is more efficient, which makes it easier for the general public to understand better. So moving on to Sharath, who will be explaining the first UML diagram.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to depict the activity diagram for the online shopping. So, Akila, next
Your
slide,
name?
please.
Introduce
Sharath, ma'am.
yourself.
Okay,
Sharath.
this is Sharath, roll number 3 from CS11 section.
Okay.
So
Okay.
this is the rudimentary diagram of the online shopping from the user side that depicts the user side actually. So first we'll log into the home. We will log in. If the credentials are right, then it will take us to the home page, or else it will take
Where
us
is the
to
diagram name?
It's the
activity diagram.
You should. Okay. In diagram itself, you have to mention the diagram name.
Okay, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am.
Mm.
Okay, and next, if the login is successful, it will take us to the home page. Now here we have used the fork function to separate the functions of the online shopping. So here we can either search the product, and if we like the product, we can either wish list it or add to the cart, and then we can proceed to the payment. And if when we'll make the payment, the order is confirmed and we'll exit, or else we can just go to the settings and we can either choose our languages, or we can go through the plethora of the options, and we can either go to the account details and change our credentials, or if we have received our previous orders, we can check it over here. And if any defects found in the orders placed, we can either return or exchange the product, or else if we like the product, we can just rate the product and exit the application. And there are many other various applications. This is just the rudimentary, and I try to keep it as succinct as possible. So, and here we are using the merge function to merge all the activities at the ending of the diagram to reach the final state. And at last, the action is exit, and then we'll reach the final state. Thank you.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Madhavi from CS11, roll number 5. So, I'm here to talk about communication diagram. So, communication diagram, which is also known as collaboration diagram, depicts the relationships and the interactions among software objects. And they're used to understand the object architecture within a system rather than the flow of a message. And this diagram shows the interaction between objects or paths in terms of sequenced messages, describing that both the static structure and the dynamic behavior of a system. And communication diagrams are used to show how objects interact to perform the behavior of a particular case. And coming to the diagram, I've go to the next slide, Akhila. Thank you. So coming to the diagram, I've used rectangles, connectors, forward and reverse messages. The communication diagram is represented by rectangles, and I've used connectors which links the elements together and are typically represented as the lines on diagrams showing how the elements relate each other. And I've used forward and reverse messages to visualize the interaction behavior of the system, and the main purpose is to emphasize structural aspects of the system. Thank you, and over to Akhila.
So I'll be explaining the class diagram. So the class diagram is not only used for visualizing, describing, documenting different aspects of a system, but is also used for constructing executable code for the software application. So like it's used in business perspective, so they can explain their ideas better using the class diagram. Class diagram, it is also the base for component and deployment diagram. So moving on to the diagram, I have 7 classes here in which the user is the parent class and customer and administrator are the 2 child classes which inherit the properties of the user class. So the user has string, password, login details. It's like the first page when we like log into our website. So we need to put in our name, our ID, password, and login details. And as you can see the minus sign, which means that the specifier is private. So like the other classes which are not in this class cannot see this. The child classes, as they inherit the properties of the user class, they can see it. So the first in the class, there are 3 components. The first rectangle that you see is the class name. So the second box which you see, which consists of user ID, password, login details, that is the attributes in a class. So what are the attributes? The attribute is a significant piece of data containing values that describe each instance of that class. They're also called variables or properties. So the third component is the methods or the operations. So what are methods? Methods allow us to specify any behavioral feature of a class. They're also called operations or functions. So the relation between user and customer is inheritance, which is used, which can be seen using the arrow line. And the relation between administrator and user is also the same, inheritance. Coming to shopping cart and order, they're in relation in composition with the customer, which means that the shopping cart and the order class do not exist if the customer class do not exist. And in the same way, shipping info class and the order detail info class, they are in composition with the order, which means if the order is not present, the shipping info class and the order details will also not exist. So coming to the cardinality, so the customer, there's only one customer, but one customer can have multiple shopping carts. So it is one to many. Coming to order, there can be many orders. And again, there's only one customer. So it is one to many again. For one order, there's only one shipping information. So the cardinality is 1 to 1. For one order, there's only one order detail. So it is again 1 to 1. Thank you. Moving on to the next person.
Customer having multiple
Yes, ma'am.
shopping carts.
They can have.
Customer is generally having one shopping cart containing many items, right?
Yes, ma'am. So like consider a wish list. So you can add in many products in a wish list. You can keep adding more products in a shopping cart, but there is only one order. So there can be multiple shopping carts, but not multiple. I mean, there can be multiple orders also.
Multiple items in a shopping cart, or we can
Yes.
connect with a single customer.
Yes, ma'am.
Go to next
Good
slide.
afternoon, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Deeksha, pin number 22 from CS11. I'll be talking about deployment diagram. So a deployment diagram is basically used to visualize the physical hardware and software components of a system. By using a deployment diagram, one can understand how the system will be physically deployed on the hardware. Akhila, next slide, please. Okay, so here we have a node called the customer PC. So we consider the customer's PC or the computer as a hardware component. Next, we have a node called online shopping server. This is an external node, and it is a server where the online shopping website is hosted. Next, we have some internal components here. So we have a component called browser in the customer PC, which is a software component. Next, we have a component called shopping website in the online shopping server. which is a internal node again, and it is hosted in that particular server. Next, there exists an interface between the customer PC and the online shopping server, which is represented by a circle and is called login. Now, the online shopping server is providing the interface and the customer PC is relating to it. So we can see a connection between the two. Next, we have an artifact in the online shopping server called the user database. So the shopping website is connected to the user database. So when a person enters his or her details, so those details are verified with the already existing details in the user database. Next, we have a bank server node, which is an external node, and online payment system of the customer is linked to this node. So bank server is communicating with the online shopping server, or vice versa, when a person gives their payment details. Now there's a component here which is called customer data, an artifact present which is called customer database. So it has all the details and all the account details, the transaction details of the customers. So again, we have an interface here called login, because the customer has to log in into their bank account to carry out the transactions. And customer PC here has an artifact called cookies, files, and history, which saves all the details. Thank you.
Is it clear to everyone? It's very simple concepts. Is it clear to everyone? This presentation is not for me, for you. So if you have any doubts, you can ask. Yes.
Yes. Hello, everybody. My name is Srishti Jupudi, and I'm roll number 30 from CS11. Here, I have represented online shopping to the usage of use case diagrams. A use case diagram is basically a graphical representation of users' possible interaction with the system, and it is represented by either circles or ellipses. It models the tasks, services, and functions required by the system or the subsystem of an application. And now coming to the diagram that you see on the screen, and to brief it all up, I have taken checkout as the main attribute and have linked all the kinds of checkout to it with respect to online shopping. And then I've subdivided the types of connect to checkout to the end user, which in this case are the actors. To connect the entire diagram, I have used connectors, which represent the relationship between the elements, and the actors, which describe interaction with the system, the use cases, or the services. And lastly, the use cases are represented with a labeled oval shape. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Manish, and I'm pin number 37. Today, I'm going to talk about the object diagram. Object diagram is an object diagram is a UML structural diagram that represents instance of a model. And today, I'm going to represent online shopping using object diagram. Akila, can you move on to the next slide, please? Okay, so the here a customer like user is the main one. So from user, okay. So when a user orders something or when he adds into the shopping cart, in his wish list, it goes to the shopping cart, and from there on, it'll go to the dealer, and we'll have the shipping info will be given to him. And so after that is done, so the order will be tracked and it will be given to the customer going back. And so the administrator will be behind all of this, looking behind all the tasks. Thank you, ma'am, and I pass it on to my mate.
Good afternoon. Maita, roll number 43 from CS11. So I'm here to explain about the sequence diagram. So basically a sequence diagram, as we all know, is a UML diagram that shows the interaction logic between the objects in a system over time. And it is also known as an event diagram. And sequence diagram is used by mostly used by the developers. Generally, sequence diagram consists of lifeline notations, activation bars, messages, reply messages, self messages. Akila, next slide, please. So here I have chosen lifeline notations, asynchronous message, and a reply message. By using this, I've consulted this diagram on the online shopping. So basically, I have taken 4 lifeline notations: admin, customer, system, and delivery. I've chosen asynchronous message just because it's easy to communicate and they don't need a reply. They'll not wait for a response. And a reply message, as we all know, is generated by the data lines. So first, coming to the admin, admin's role is to log into the system in order to create, edit, delete, or ignore all the reported reviews from the system. So here, the admin first adds the product to the system, and system in return the status to the admin if the product is added or not. So coming to the customer role is to first log into the system. After logging in, it views a product, and if the customer likes that product, it adds that product to the cart in the system. And the system in return by the reply message returns the status if the product is added to the cart or not. Later, the customer places the request order to the system, and system in order receives or accepts that request from the customer. And now the role of the admin again comes in. The admin sees if the order request is accepted by the system or not. If yes, the system sends the to the admin again. And later, after all these interactions, the customer will receive the order and the payment from the delivery agent. And then later, the admin sees if the request to the delivered the request to the delivery is accepted or not. So after the delivery agent accepts the product, it finally delivers the product to the customer. This is how the sequence diagram works. Thank you.
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Sharan from CSE 11, roll number 53, and I'll be taking over and I'll be explaining about the component diagram. So the component diagram is a little different from the other because it represents, it deals with the physical aspect of the whole structure. And when it comes to physical aspect, we mean like libraries, data storage. In the case of online shopping, we include warehouses and delivery part of it. Moving on to the slide, moving on to the diagram. So yeah, so over here we have the product warehouse, shopping cart, and then the order system, banking system, and product as the components of this diagram. And there are different interfaces connecting these individual components to each other. So we'll start with the customer and product. These two components are connected with the interface login. And the half circle represents dependency. The customer is dependent into the product is dependent on the customer. And then after you log in to add it into your cart, there's a different dependency, and the interface between product and shopping cart is adding to cart. And the shopping cart and order have a interface called as order product. And then order and order system has an interface called order. And order and warehouse has an interface called adjust or update the warehouse. So each component has its own interface, and each interface has the dependency according to which side is more dependent on the other. And in terms of order system and banking system, the dependency is equally between both of them. So there's no half circle, full circle, but both of them have a half circle on each side. And that's all for component diagram. Now moving on.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Yathasoni, pen number 59. So I'll be explaining about the state chart diagram of online shopping system. State chart diagram is basically flow chart diagram, and it represents the dynamic nature of a model. It defines different states of the model and describes how it describes the flow of control from one state to another. Okay. So this is a user perspective of a STATECHART diagram. So in the initial state, the authorization is done where the user he logins to the system. So if it's new user he register an account and then login, or else he'll directly go for the login section. Once the login is done, then he has three options regarding managing his profiles, order history, and for shopping. So in a search item, so when he goes to the first option, that is search item, like shopping. So he first searches the items. If the item is found in the system, then he can go select and add the item to cart. Or else, if he wants to continue for shopping, he can go back to the search and repeat the processes. And if the item is not found, again, the system is gonna ask him to search for the item, and he can continue his shopping, make the payments, and confirm his order. The second option is manage profiles, in which he can change his passwords or his profile details. And the third option comes regarding his orders, where he can return, cancel, track, or review his orders. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Rishita, number 33 from CS11. I'm going to talk about the data flow diagram of level 0 and level 1. So data flow diagram is also called the context diagram, and it gives the overview of the whole system. And then it also gives the glance of the process and then shows the relationship about the entities. Akhila, can you move to? So basically online shopping is a process that we're working on, and then the other customer management, shopping management, order management, payment, system user, and login management. These are called the entities of the online shopping. Customer management is wherein we manage the relationship between the customers and the system, customers and the company or the system that is working on. Then shopping management is something that will give the customers the required choices. That means the requested catalog, wherein he selects the gender, whatever he requires, gender, which kind of clothes or whatever, something he requires. Order management is wherein we manage everything regarding the orders, wherein about placing an order, canceling an order, all of that. Payment management is the various kinds of payment modes that we have, might be cash on delivery, internet banking, or something like that. Then system user is wherein the user is given access to the access to various resources. And then login management, wherein the system that is the first thing where what this user does when he has to enter into a particular site. Then moving on to data flow diagram level 1. Level 1 gives a better view of the context diagram. That means it gives us the view of what happens in the backend and also what happens with the user. Then moving on to the diagram. So all the diagrams that are on the left hand side, all the entities that are on the left hand side show us what is going to happen on the back end of the back end of the website, and all the entities that are on the right side are something that the customer is able to view, or that is going to be where the customer will be able to check or check whatever he's done. So shopping management, shopping cart management, product management is all the same that have been spoken in DFD1. And then coming to the right hand side entities, we have generating a shopping report. Generating a shopping report and then shopping cart report is something like a physical bill that we're going to get. But then instead we're just going to get a mail or something of what we ordered and something. Product report is basically the details of the product that we've ordered, the color, size, quantity, and something like that. Shipment report is wherein we track the order, like the tracking of the order, wherein we get a mail or message saying you can track the order using so and so, whatever is the link required. Checking the logging user details. This is the first step again. Once the details are right, then we are entering into the next step. If not, we again have to check our details and then enter the right